Some forsake longevity, the fading to dust. Some fall for eternal sleep.
This is my 214th spring on Earth, and it will be my last.
Our planet has welcomed the 4,389.2 billionth sunrise. The tracker team has returned from Earth. The deep space tunnel will be closed, and we shall return to the era before immortality.
If there's still time before next spring, let's meet now.
A special vacation. Write an essay titled, "When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a blank," to understand the kind of job you want to do. After reading his son's homework assignment for summer vacation, Ulysses asks, "What do you want to be when you grow up, Frankie?" 7-year-old Frank's eyes sparkle. "I want to be a deep space hunter." He jumps up and down. "I'm going to defeat wanderers like this. Swish, 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 swish. They're so awesome." Ulysses looks a little surprised. "Really?" "Really." Smiling, Ulysses pulls his son onto his lap. "I have a friend who's a deep space hunter. In fact, he's the best of the best of the best. Do you want to go to his place and have him teach you how to become one?" "The best of the best? What kind of hunter is he?" "The hunters in the cartoons are already really cool. They wear the shiny outfits with super cool weapons. They travel to every corner of the city, flying across the sky, and can run on walls. A single move is enough to amaze the whole world. If there's a hunter better than them, doesn't that mean he'd be cooler?" Following Dad to his old friend's house, Frank watches as the door opens. He's filled with longing and anticipation. Then, he's stunned. The man inside is wearing a pair of white slippers and regular pajama pants. There was no shiny golden outfit. He didn't transform. He wore normal clothes, and he has a lopsided sleeping mask with stars on it. He still looks a little tired after yawning. This person is a deep space hunter. He talks to Dad, but Frank doesn't pay any attention. He can see the question mark on the man's face. It's changed into an exclamation mark, and then ellipses. After that, he kneels down to look Frank in the eye. "Hello, my name is Xavier." His voice, it doesn't seem like he would shout a catchphrase. Frank's heart beats frantically in his chest. He grabs the hem of his father's shirt and says, "I'm Frank." He looks at Xavier's hair. "Grandpa?" But looking at Xavier's face, he's unsure. "Uncle?" Xavier lowers his head, scratching his neck. Xavier is good enough. Dad drives away not long after, leaving Frank alone with Xavier. Xavier closes the door and takes Frank's tiny suitcase inside. Frank hurries after him, curiously looking around. This is the house of a deep space hunter. Would he have an entire wall filled with weapons and bombs? What about tiny robots that fly around everywhere? Would there be a sleeping pod as big as a room? After walking around, Frank realizes that Xavier doesn't have any of these. "Mr. Xavier, where's your armory?" Xavier is pressing some buttons on his juicer. Frank's question causes him to mess up, so he presses cancel and restarts the process. "I don't have enough weapons for one." "What about your robots?" The phone on the table lights up. "Hello, how may I help you?" "Where do you sleep?" Xavier looks around. "You can sleep anywhere here." He's nothing like the hunters in the cartoons. Frank is disappointed. Xavier hands him a cup of yellowish-green liquid. "Do you like weapons and robots?" "No, but a hunter's house should have these things, right?" Frank takes a sip of the drink and makes a face. "Huh? He'd rather drink Dad's veggie juice. He's about to ask Xavier what it is when he sees Xavier has finished his own cup without a hint of disgust. What makes you think that? Xavier asks, putting down his cup. As a guest, Frank has to be polite. He forces himself to swallow the liquid in his mouth, thinking that maybe it's some kind of energy supplement. He places the cup on the corner of the table. Everyone in Hunters Unite has one. They have a secret base filled with tons of stuff, too. Did you hide yours, Mr. Xavier? Xavier thinks for a moment before saying, their stuff comes with their base. Mine is simpler, so he doesn't have as much. Seeing Frank's cup remain untouched, Xavier picks it up. Do you not like juice? Frank's eyes widen. That was juice? Everyone in Hunters Unite is so strong. You can find them on the top 10 hunters list. Xavier probably wasn't picked to join them. No matter what kind of hunter he is, he should be going out every day to defeat wanderers and save the world, right? Frank gathers himself again and gets ready for the big battle with Xavier tomorrow. But the next day, when Frank looks for Xavier in the morning, he finds him asleep in the living room. Wearing a jacket, Xavier has one of his hands hanging off the couch. His brow furrows. In the bright sunlight, stuff shimmers on his shoulder. They remind Frank of specks of light, or even pieces of glass. Where did Xavier go last night? What did he do? Frank decides to ask Xavier when he wakes up. However, Xavier doesn't move for a long time. He doesn't toss or turn, and manages to make Frank sleepy. Frank waits and waits until his eyelids start to droop. When he opens his eyes, Frank sees Xavier in the foyer, hand on the doorknob, ready to head out. He comes back to his senses, knowing the moment he's been waiting for is finally here. Frank runs over. Where are you going, Mr. Xavier? I want to go too. Not giving Xavier a chance to refuse, he tightly grabs his hand. And just like that, Frank goes out with Xavier for the first time. His teacher always says the early bird catches the worm, but Xavier slept in. It's already noon. Are there any wanderers left? Xavier walks around and looks relaxed. Could it be that he isn't worried because he knows where all the wanderers are hiding? Frank can only guess. Maybe they're going to a dark cave next, or an abandoned building with strange noises coming out of it. After 10 minutes, Xavier stops walking. In front of them is a hot pot restaurant. It's lunchtime, so a lot of people are here. Xavier sits by the window, glancing at the menu before ordering with a frightening familiarity. Bunny's fatty beef, Bunny's signature lamb rolls, beef brain, beef tenderloins, ox tongue, tripe, beef ribs, black chicken rolls, fish bowls. Frank can only listen with his mouth agape until Xavier puts down the menu and says spicy soup, extra spicy. Frank springs to action. My dad told me not to eat super spicy food, Mr. Xavier. Xavier looks at Frank as though he forgot about him. Scratching his neck, he says to the server, another bowl of small noodles, please. Frank takes the rabbit-themed bowl when it's put down in front of him. He watches Xavier dip the red meat in the equally red soup. Frank is speechless. He quickly snaps out of it, though, when he realizes something. You need a full stomach to fight vicious wanderers. Otherwise, where else would you get your energy? Everything Xavier does has a reason. So, Frank happily eats his noodles. He puts his bowl down and stares at Xavier. Are they going to fight wanderers now? Frank was wrong again. Half an hour later, they arrive at a supermarket. Xavier pushes around a shopping cart, passing by the numerous aisles in the store. He browses the shelves slowly, sometimes even asking for Frank's opinions. Which one do you think is better? Xavier asks. 30 minutes later, they arrive at a bookstore. Behind the counter is a scary-looking man with a large beard, who smiles at them. Frank hears the man talk to Xavier like they're the same age. Then he says something that he doesn't understand. What's a vegetarian? What are meal plans? Then, finally, Xavier leaves the store and takes Frank home. Frank is at a loss. Where are the wanderers? Why would a hunter like Xavier not fight wanderers? Frank thinks, then realizes that like children getting 2 days of holiday after 5 days of school, Xavier doesn't fight wanderers every day. So, once Xavier is done resting, he'll go fight wanderers, right? With that, Frank waits and waits and waits. But still, he never sees Xavier. The best of the best go out to fight wanderers. Instead, all he gets is the rapidly approaching end of his summer vacation. A week later, unable to wait anymore, Frank takes out his homework assignment and starts writing. Deep Space Hunters will sleep until noon every day. When they wake up, they have lunch. After lunch, they either walk around outside or stay home to watch TV. Sometimes they fall asleep watching TV. Deep Space Hunters aren't picky. They eat everything. They also aren't picky when it comes to places to sleep. They can sleep anywhere. But, Frank stops writing, Deep Space Hunters are kinda weird. One night, Frank woke up to use the bathroom. He saw the balcony when he passed by, but as he came out, a shadowy figure stood on the balcony, scaring him. It's me. Mr. Xavier? Yeah. Xavier enters the living room and shuts the balcony door behind him. His shadow elongates under the moonlight. Did you fight wanderers, Mr. Xavier? Xavier remains silent and starts to head to his room. His body is covered in shiny stuff again, but Frank can't see them clearly. Why didn't you bring me with you if you're fighting wanderers? Xavier pushes Frank to his room as he walks. Go to bed. If you're not tall enough, you're not allowed to fight wanderers. Okay. After getting back into bed, Frank wonders about another thing. Why did Xavier come in through the balcony and not the front door? Frank slumps on his desk, unsure if he should write that. What are you doing? Xavier comes over. Summer vacation homework. Xavier seems taken aback. There's homework during summer? Yeah. Frank lifts the notebook up. Xavier reads everything and doesn't say anything for a while. If all I needed to do to be a deep space hunter was sleep and get taller, that'd be great, but it's not like I thought it would be. Xavier sits down by the desk. Actually, that's not what being deep space hunter is like. Other than finding wanderers, we have other things to do, such as taking exams or doing special training, stuff like that. But I never see you fight wanderers. That's because it's been peaceful here in the city. There's not a single wanderer, Frank asks. Xavier thinks for a moment. There are more hunters nowadays, and they're all very strong. Every time there's a wanderer, they defeat it before I even know it's here. Frank takes a while to process what Xavier said. So, you're not fast enough? You could say that. Frank raises his fist. I think you should try harder, Mr. Xavier. Xavier smiles and fist bumps him. All right. When do you have exams? I don't have exams. What about training? Nope. Frank writes the following. Deep Space Hunters don't have exams. They also don't need to train. Xavier grabs his pen. I don't have to train right now, Xavier says after a long while, but I can work one session in. Frank is excited. Can you teach me how to fight wanderers, Mr. Xavier? Teach you. Before Xavier can change his mind, Frank says, Master? Xavier doesn't argue with him. Just call me Xavier. It's sunny the next day. There are several groups of people in Lincoln Central Park, walking and picnicking. Children around the same age as Frank are running across the field or playing around the playground. Xavier puts his bag on the grass. He sits down and starts taking things out. Choose one. Seeing all sorts of weapons laid out in front of him, Frank is amazed. Without any hesitation, he grabs a small wooden sword. I want this one. He swings a sword a couple times, then notes Xavier picking up a stick. We're sparring, right? Are you looking down on me, Mr. Xavier? If you can knock this stick out of my hand, then I'll swap to a better weapon, Xavier says. 10 minutes later, Frank is out of breath. Xavier sits, unmoving, with the stick still in his hand. A sword doesn't suit me. Frank throws it away and picks up a water gun. He rushes to the fountain to load his ammo and comes back, chest puffed. Xavier, as calm as ever, swaps his stick with a paper cup. Another 10 minutes pass. Frank accidentally squirts himself with water. Xavier pours out the water in his cup, his body completely dry. A gun doesn't suit me either, Frank tosses the water gun away and gets a pair of maracas. Xavier picks up the stick again. He breaks it, holding each half in both hands. Another 10 minutes pass. Frank is drenched in sweat. He's a little dizzy with the sun beating down on him, and his palms are red from training. Despite not having touched even a hair on Xavier's head, he's happy. This is the first time he's seen Xavier act like a deep space hunter. Is this how you train to be a hunter, Mr. Xavier? Unexpectedly, Xavier shakes his head. No. But aren't you teaching me how to fight wanderers? Xavier looks as if he hasn't heard Frank. He stands up and looks around. Frank asks again hurriedly, only to hear Xavier say, "You haven't even beaten me once." Critical hit. Frank stands there in shock. All the doubts he had earlier return. This so-called hunter doesn't own anything cool. He doesn't have any weapons or fight any wanderers. He's always doing strange things. He even lied about training him. Is Xavier a liar? "Frankie, wait for me here. I'm going over..." Seeing Frank's expression, Xavier pauses. "What's wrong?" Upset, Frank is on the verge of tears. Suddenly, there's a loud explosion. In a split second, he feels someone pick him up. Opening his eyes, Frank is stunned. He looks at the source of the sound. Xavier covers Frank's eyes with his hand. "Don't look. The Wanderers are here." The sky darkens, and the sharp wail of a police siren brings Frank back to reality. "Wait here, and don't run outside the light." Xavier lifts his hand, and a golden shield appears above Frank's head like a round tent. After that, he turns and runs off. Frank, you see the sword quickly manifest in Xavier's right hand. It's brighter and cooler than any weapon he saw on TV. As people run away, he sees Xavier go against the flow of the crowd. Several terrifying wanderers appear from the trees. With a single swing, Xavier's weapon transforms into countless light blades. The wanderers instantly disappear in the light. He turns, leaps, and appears by the side of the inflatable castle, striking down 2 wanderers like lightning. With a deafening roar, the wanderers turn to dust. The adults and children who haven't been able to leave are shocked. Leave this place. In the dust and smoke, Xavier turns around and leaves again. He takes a sword in his hand and lunges toward another wanderer. Frank's eyes widen. Xavier is like a beam of light, turning everything he attacks into dust. It's as if Frank is watching a meteor shower of light. After he cuts down the last wanderer, Xavier lands on the ground. With a flick of his wrist, his sword disappears, leaving only specks of light around him. It's as if he's standing under a starry sky. Frank is stunned. When he comes out of the convenience store with Xavier, the park entrance across the street is covered with police tape. Police cars and ambulances are everywhere, and people with cameras are also running around. Everything is a mess. Eat this. We'll go home after. Frank takes the ice cream cone Xavier gives him. It's a sweet treat to calm his nerves. "Why didn't you tell the police that you're the one who got rid of the wanderers, Mr. Xavier?" Frank feels a little sad. He wanted to see Xavier get praised on TV, but once he was done, Xavier dragged him out of the park. Xavier looked serious. "Didn't your teachers tell you not to brag when you do a good deed?" Still, Xavier's expression looks a little strange. It's almost like he doesn't want people to find out about him. Then again, that's not the only thing strange about Xavier. Besides, Frank is certain that Xavier is a very, very good hunter. Everything he does must have a reason. So, Frank looks up at him with the same serious face. "Don't worry, I'll keep it a secret." On the last day of summer vacation, Ulysses arrives to pick up his son. Ulysses sits on Xavier's couch, reading his son's passionate essay. "This summer, I met the world's greatest deep space hunter. Wanderers are no match for him. He uses a super cool sword, and it's sharper than anything in the world. He told me that being a hunter means you shouldn't brag about the good things you've done. That's why I want to be a hunter just like him. He's my role model." He looks up at Xavier. "Did you cast a spell on my son?" "No." Xavier is sparring with Frank using chopsticks. "I just took him out for hot pot. After that, we went shopping at the supermarket and bookstore. Then we went for a walk in the park." "Dad, Xavier is super duper cool. He eats the greatest hot pot, and his walks are awesome. But I can't tell you exactly how amazing he is because..." Frank looks at Xavier. He's still wearing a normal t-shirt and normal pajama pants, but now, in Frank's eyes, those are better and stronger than any armor, because it's a secret between me and Xavier. Ulysses doesn't know how to react. He picks up Frank's luggage and grabs the boy, still running around the living room pretending to be Xavier. He doesn't know what kind of secret his son agreed to keep for Xavier, but whatever, it's not on Frank. After all, when Ulysses was younger, he was also fooled by Xavier.